Sean, there's lots of little bits and pieces here that needs to be cleaned, and I'm always worried about getting a yeast infection in my beer.
Yep.
What's the best way to make sure this is all taken care of?
I think the simplest best way, Hendrik, is actually to clean the individual pieces, and there's about 6 different pieces in this lid, and it's about pulling it apart, soaking them, cleaning them, and then reassembling.
Just so we're dead sure here, cleaning is one thing, sanitizing is another thing.
Correct. So cleaning is getting rid of the visible gunk. Sanitizing is then making sure that it's ready for brewing.
Therefore, I have to get all this done, not just cleaning, but also sanitizing.
Yep.
Right. So take me through the pieces. What are we looking at?
Okay, so basically we've got the lid with a silicone O-ring. We've got a beer line here, and the beer line comes out of, hopefully obvious, but the line marked L for liquid. And you've got to remember that because you've got to put it back into the one that's marked L for liquid. And there's 2 pieces. There's this black stem at the end, which we use to filter just small amounts of hops and particles that we don't want travelling up the beer line, so we pull that apart. And then the last one that we clean is the VPRV valve. So basically that involves unscrewing this all the way, and you'll see it comes into 3 parts. So basically that's the VPRV valve, and it's a plastic piece, it's spring, and it's this piece. And what you can do is you can actually push that out just to check that there's no sort of gunk underneath. There's all 7 pieces will soak in brewery detergent just for a period of time, just to kind of make sure they're getting a good clean. All right, so basically reassembling, we've got our stem, and that little hole will face on the inward side of the curve, and that goes into the L for liquid, and again facing inwards.
Some of us still has the old lid that doesn't have the L or the G, liquid and gas.
Yep.
So that means it goes in the one without the notches.
Correct. So if you have an old lid, it is the one without the notches. Notches on any device always means gas. We're dropping the spring in either way, the spring onto the metal pin, and then we are just placing the plastic threaded part of the VPRV on top, and then screwing it in. And what you do, because if you're thinking about you're starting your brew right, is you're screwing it all the way in, because what we're going to do later on as a next step is do a boil sanitization, and that involves boiling water, shaking it up, creating some pressure, and pouring it out.
When you put the little straw for the liquid in,
yep,
you want again that it faces inwards. There's a hole here, this faces inside.
Yeah, correct. So you kind of, you give it a slight bend so that it sits down underneath the top of the lid, but it's not a precise thing. I mean, just as long as it's better that than the other way around.
Exactly. You want to get all your beer out eventually. And then last thing but not least.
Yeah, and you'll see there's a couple of little notches here, and they line up with the top and bottom of the lid. That's it. We're done.
You guys are using this lid more and more because you have it now on the BrewKeg10, but you're going to have it on the new 25 as well, isn't it?
Yep, it's just a much simpler piece of engineering, really. Less threads to allow bacteria to hang around. It is much easier to add and remove, and we just find that it's a much more functional lid.